What's up, guys? I'm here today to show you guys my double S raid teams. I've gotten double S in all of them so far, and I want to share with you guys how I did it. For first, with fire raid, AoE is obviously the answer here. I have a lot of speculations, and I may be wrong in some of these points, but I noticed that if I took Vert out, I would have a really increasingly high fail rate where I would just get A+. Majority of my runs I'm doing more than enough damage to get A+ every single time with the rune qualities I have. Key component being Hwahi, who I actually decided to put Devilmon in until I maxed out second and third abilities. I actually did a while ago, right after this patch, or before this patch, I removed my Violence set from Zeros, and it was just sitting in my inventory. That old Violence set now is on my Hwahi, which I put on there after the patch came out. I didn't know that this was going to be a thing, but it ended up working out. Going attack, crit damage, attack, and you might be like, why not attack, attack, attack for the heal? It's because this ability is absolutely ridiculous in here. It just multiplies your damage so well. Hwahi is like just a king in here. Why is it willed? Don't ask me. It's just how my Zeros was beforehand. Although that set's not perfect for units that don't awaken into crit, it wasn't even perfect with units that did awaken into crit in that exact form that I have it right now. It does work really, really well with the speed and the attack power, the HP and everything. She's very, very sustainable. Then in here, I noticed that I wasn't really doing too well with branding. I wasn't consistently hitting the damage threshold. And then with 2 AoEers, it just seemed like it wasn't enough, so I went with 3 AoEers. One of the king of them, it was, for me, Alicia. I tried to stack as many AoEs as possible in here. This is just what I have, so I just went along and used it. I would recommend as much AoE as you possibly can get. A branding unit is really good as well in here. Moving on to water, which is the hardest one for me personally. It took me the longest time to double S it, but after I got my homunculus finished, I was able to double S it pretty consistently. I almost always get S on here now, but this is with a Magic Bullet Madness and branding Wind Homunculus. I went with the multi-hits on auto attack instead of. It actually increases the damage a little bit, and when you have a lower crit rate, it kind of creates a better average on the damage. Then Magic Bullet Madness. I've actually tested this out live on stream. You should check me out on twitch.tv/Omgbomber if you haven't already. I showed a showcase of this when I got it. It hit around 200,000 damage on the boss with third ability with branding and defense break and power buff. The key to this, it seems to be Bernard. Stacking wind units with Bernard, and then having Bernard and Chassoon in the front line really, really work well. My Bernard is just rocking some weird Swift set that I had randomly laying around. I'm not really utilizing Bernard. That's a different story for my PvP. But besides the point, I'm going to go into here. You got your defense break, you got your brand, you have a team up, you have another defense break, and then you have this. Amir, really big deal. Gets 15. The wind units are getting 15% crit rate in here. Attack or damage attack. Amir just does wonders with his third ability. There's a lot of debuffs to be had in here in this team comp. And then I threw in Tark for the cooldown reduction. He's really, really slow, but he's attack or damage attack, which it seems to be like a lot better for attack or damage attack when it comes down to these units. Really slow because I don't really want him to move a whole lot. When I want a really high score, I just want him to move like one team up, reduce everybody that he teams up with their cooldowns 1 turn, and then move on with the day, and then have everybody else come in. Next one, Wind one, seemingly the easiest one for me. I almost always was getting S in there after a while. I think it has a lot to do with Perna for me. Fire Monkey King is great up in front, but was dying very, very, very often. I had to throw in a defense slot too. Is defense, crit damage, defense. That's kind of how I got him to be able to be surviving in here more often than not. this is actually a really good unit as well with his heal. I have a max skilled, and he has an okay set, pretty good set. It's alright, I guess. But with Violent, he helps keep everybody up, and the key with this raid is heals. You'll notice everybody heals in some way. Verd heals on auto attack, Fire Monkey King heals on second ability. Everybody heals. Alright, Perna heals everybody except herself. And then you have Huahi and Chasun. In this raid, heals are actually damage. If you heal yourself back up to full HP, then you damage the boss for a really large chunk. So it's just obvious you want to stack a lot of healers, but still maintain a lot of damage in order to be able to get that double S or better. I mean, I really do think that I'm lacking some fundamental units in order to like move forward, and maybe I could stress my runes a little bit better and be able to push into the triple S range on some of these, if not all of them. But that's besides the point. I was going for what I had, and what I didn't want to like tap into my arena runes, so I was just kind of doing with what I had, working with what I had at the moment. Next, Light Dungeon. What I found out in Light and Dark is Randy is bae. Like, he is a beast. Copper, this dungeon is really, really good for Copper. It's all about hitting one time really, really hard. So units that can hit just once, not multi-hit, really, really hard, do really, really well. Now you're going to look at Verd, and you're going to look at like Huahi and be like, well, then why are you bringing them, and why are you bringing Randy? Well, Randy's for the defense buff, Huahi's for the healer that also does damage, and then Verd is for just keep giving turns to your units. I know you might think that there's no such thing as turns in here, but that's only really during Groggy's state, where you have a finite amount of turns that can be completed. Now, when I take Verd out, I notice drastically that during the boss, when you're fighting him, you definitely lose out on turns sometimes when he's not alive or when you're not using him. So that could cause fails. The big thing with Verd is you gotta find a way to make him work in here. And I know this looks really weird, but it's more about dealing damage with him, making him a damage dealer, than it really is anything else. But he also needs to live. He also needs, he needs a bunch of stuff. He needs a little bit of speed, not so little that he's zero. He needs a lot of attack power, a lot of crit rate, and a lot of crit damage. And then he needs a little bit of tanky stats in order to live, just like everybody else. Just a little, because in the back line you don't really need that much, and you can live. Randy, I did a totally different strategy with Randy. Triple Revenge to maximize on his armor ignoring procs to help get through the pretty intense third stage when you're getting that onslaught of damage coming in. When he hits these armor ignore shots, they do work. It just busts the shield. Same thing with the armor ignore on Copper. Like, his third ability, he pretty much solos the whole shield just for myself. Like, he just uses third ability, boom, shield's gone. Like, done, gone. And that seems to be like one of the best ways of dealing with it, is definitely the defense break and, not defense break, but the armor ignore and defense buff. Just seems really, really easy to work with it. So Light turned out to be not too hard, actually. I think I got consistent S on Light more than any of the dungeons with that comp, than any of the other dungeons. All the other dungeons were kind of a little bit riskier, where I would get A+ a lot more often than I think this dungeon. My score might not be higher, and I really think that might have something to do with just what I had to bring in there. It doesn't really look that too offensive. Bringing in Copper, he doesn't really have high DPS during the groggy state, but he won almost every single time, so it was really nice. Then moving back into the Dark Dungeon, the last dungeon I'm going to go over today. I put Perna in the front line. It seems really weird, but with Randy's defense buff and all the revenge procs there, it's a pretty standard kind of team here. Just like almost everything else here, except this one I have a branding effect, and with that branding effect you can kind of see that I did a little bit more damage in this one and got closer to triple S than some of the other dungeons, but that's besides the point. Stella, I don't think I went over her runes, but Violent on her, I'm pretty sure she's attack or damage attack right now. It just seems like attack or damage attack is the stats you want. You might want speed, crit damage, attack in a lot of other places in the game, but really in here it's really a lot more about hitting those high numbers, doing as much damage as you can. Was there any units that didn't go over? Oh, Ethna in the water dungeon, really it's only for this third ability. Her third ability just does so much burst damage that it makes it consistent to get through the last stage. Water is seemingly the hardest one, like I said, for me. Getting through that last stage seems like really hard for me. So I put in these really big, heavy-hitting water units or wind units that do so much damage coming in, so much single-target nuke, and it was just kind of a breeze. Been consistently S-ing it after I got the wind homunculus finished out, and he's doing a really good job. I still need to test a lot more with him and play around a lot more with him. Probably throw a better rune set on him. Maybe wait for some Devilmon. But that's about it. Did I miss any other units? I don't really think I did. I didn't look at the rune set of the Monkey King, which is just Fatal Will for Guild Wars, and same thing with Alicia, Fatal Will, just for a lot of damage. Zeros, I looked at him, Rage Broken, and that has something to do with my PvP setup. That's not really what I would ideally do, but it's pretty much fine. But those are all the units that I've been using, that I've seemingly been able to be getting double S like pretty relevantly consistently in all of these dungeons with. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys can take back from some of this and apply it to your own situation. I know not all of you guys might have these units, but you might be able to look at a unit and try and understand its dynamic and relate that to your own units in order to be able to succeed and move forward with these raids. As I'm having a lot of fun with this new patch, and I mean, I hope that you guys can take what I've done and kind of apply it, you know. But thank you guys so much for watching. I always appreciate you guys coming up, viewing it, and have a good day. I really am thankful that you guys took your time out, made it to the end of this video, and were able to, you know, support me in any way that you are able to with your viewership. So you guys have a good one. Peace.